I feel like I'm dying.
I just got done throwing up and I feel like shit. Good news is I'm moving to an actual room soon, so I'm hoping the bed will be a little more comfy because I think it's how I'm laying that made me throw up. It's probably because I'm really sick, but I'm just excited to go to sleep. I'm tired. Just moved to my hospital room. I'm feeling very nauseous and a little more comfortable. This bed is a lot better. I sent Martin home earlier, but I just told him to come back because now there's a couch he can lay on. Before it was just like a little chair, and I feel bad that he had to sit on that because it was just like a waiting game. They were giving me my antibiotics. The nurse is about to come in and ask me a bunch of questions, and then I think I'll be able to go to sleep. My temperature has dropped from 104 to 100.3, so that's good. And my heart rate went down from 130 to 107. So that's really good. I never thought this would happen to me. I'm tripping right now. I'm so sad right now.
Hi guys, so I filmed this video last night, but watching back I don't really feel like I explained what I had the best. In this video I tell you like what led up to me going to the hospital and like everything that happened, but when I like got to the point of telling you guys what I had, I didn't really explain it. So basically I had sepsis, and this is just like a little excerpt of something that I read about it that made me freak the heck out in the hospital. It says, sepsis or septic shock is an extremely serious condition that results from a bacterial infection, often the results of pneumonia or another illness. When we hear of people dying of pneumonia, in many cases it's actually due to septic shock that accompanies the condition. Sepsis sends the entire body into a state of shock that can be fatal about 40 to 50% of the time. If treated effectively in its early stages, the chances of survival are more likely. The severity of this condition is expressed in sudden and extreme onset of symptoms, including shortness of breath, a dramatic increase of heart rate, lowered blood pressure, and the feeling of mental confusion. So that's what I had. And when I read like 40 to 50% survival rate, I was like, what the fuck? Am I about to die? Like what? But yeah, when I finally went to the hospital, my body was septic. So it's pretty bad. So this is what happened. Oh, hello there guys. One sec, let me set you up a little better. Hello, my name is Kaelyn. It's kind of dark in here. Okay, hello, that's a little better. Number one, I apologize for my background. I'm filming in my bathroom because my boyfriend and my roommate are playing video games, and I just figured that would be so annoying to hear throughout this whole thing. Number two, sorry I look like crap. I'm still recovering and I'm tired and I just did not feel like getting ready. But hello, my name is Kaelyn. If you're new to this channel, what's up? I just had my first health scare that was serious, and it was really, really, really overwhelming. And this is what happened. So like pre-story, I was on Twitter one day and I saw this girl tweet that she had a 7-day period and she started using organic tampons and it shortened her period to 4 days. So I was like, oh shit, I have a 7-day period. I would rather have a 4-day period. Let me try this. So I switched to an organic brand of tampon. That entire period, my vagina hurt. Like, I don't know what was going on, but like my vagina did not like the organic tampons I was using. So naturally after that period, I felt like I had a UTI. So I was drinking a bunch of water, drinking a bunch of cranberry juice. And one very like important thing I should mention is I don't have health insurance. I know I need to get it. We'll get more into that in a second, but I don't have health insurance and I'm terrified of the doctors. So I don't go to the doctors. I haven't been to the doctors since I lived in North Carolina I think I went for an asthma attack. I couldn't even tell you the last time I went to the doctors. The only surgeries in my life that I've had was in kindergarten for my tonsils and then in high school for my wisdom teeth. And that's like, I've never really had anything other than when I was younger, like where I can't really remember. I had pneumonia every winter. But like, I just don't go to the doctors. So I was drinking water, drinking cranberry juice. This was like right before I went to Ohio. And when I was in Ohio, like I felt fine. Like nothing felt wrong. I felt like normal. Everything was great. Like nothing. And so I come back from Ohio, and then my mom was coming to visit on the 23rd. 3 days before the 23rd is when I started feeling like random things. So like that turned into like something crazy. So first of all, I started experiencing a cramp on this side of my body, but I was thinking, oh, that's probably gas, because this is such a TMI video, but I was like constipated like up until that day. Like I didn't want to, okay, so I included this in my Coachella video, but I cut it out. Like I cut that video short because I was in so much pain, and I explained it because this was the point where I still thought it was gas. I'll insert that here if I still have it. This is why I'm ending the video, because I'm in so much pain. I cannot, like, I literally cannot continue this video. I'm in so much pain. I hope that helps, that burp. So yesterday, when I'm about to get my period, I get so hungry, like so hungry that I'm just never full. Like I just eat and eat and eat. So yesterday, from eating so much, I have this crazy cramp on the left side of my body that I just was like, oh, that's probably just because I'm so bloated right now. This morning, I'm in so much pain, and I don't know if it's from that or what, but now I have this crazy cramp on the right side of my body that feels like I ran a mile. And you know that really intense cramp that you get when you're running and you just like have to stop and you like can't breathe? That's the type of cramp I've been having all day. So I'm scheduled to get my period on the 20th, and I think it was like the day before or the day of, I don't know, but right before I get my period, I get really, really hungry, and I'm like a bottomless pit. So all day this day, I was eating so much. And then when Martin got home from work, he surprised me with like a little date night. So we went to dinner and to the movies, and I ate even more then. So I was like, oh, this pain is probably just like gas, like whatever. So I wake up the next morning, and the next thing I feel is in this side is like a lot of pain on this side, like from here down to my hip. I was still thinking like, oh, it's gas, and I was talking to my roommate about it, and he was like, oh, do a headstand that like helps release gas. Like the whole time I was just thinking it was gas, and I just fucked myself up from like being constipated and not being able to poop, and like, you know what I mean, like just like all that gross shit. So it's like the first day the pain was on the left side. The second day, we're on the second day. The second day the pain is on my right side, and I'm like so uncomfortable to the point where I'm asking Martin to like rub my back, and where I called my mom and told her like, hey, I just feel really weird, like I just feel off. And by the end of that day, I'd walked to the kitchen, and Martin was in the kitchen doing something, and I leaned over on the counter, and I put my head on the counter so that my back was like sticking out, and Martin was like rubbing it, because at that point I was like so much in pain. I think that day I filmed my Coachella video, so like that entire Coachella video I was in pain throughout the entire thing, and that's why I cut it short. So this is that night. So he's rubbing my back, and then I get up to go walk to the couch, and as I'm walking to the couch I black out, like I faint. And I like catch myself on the couch, and I sit up on the couch, and my whole body is just numb. And it scared the shit out of me, because I haven't passed out since I think maybe freshman year of high school. So I knew something was wrong. So I called my mom, and I was like, Mom, I just passed out, like I feel really weird, I don't know what to do. And that's when she started saying it could be something with your kidneys, like you probably had like something going on, you should probably go to the doctor tonight, but if you can wait, then wait. Because I was just more so worried about money than like my health. I'm like, oh, I don't have money, like I can't, like I never go to the doctors because I don't have insurance, and like I don't have the money to like pay for this stuff. And my mom's like, don't worry about the money, like your life is more important, you know what I mean? Like that's what everyone says to me. So that night, go to bed, wake up the next day, so much pain again. And Martin wakes up and goes skating, and all throughout that day I was doing things. I'm still thinking it's gas or maybe like a sex position that we did that made me sore. Just like thinking of anything other than like something's actually wrong with me. So that whole day I'm going through, I'm working, I'm getting stuff done, and I go to give Bayo a bath. Now Bayo loves to swim, he loves the hose, he loves water. But if you try to bathe him, it sets something off in his mind and he flips out. It's like a fucking nightmare to bathe him. Well, I bathe him on my own and I'm like struggling, I'm holding him and like doing just like so much effort. And by the end of that, I feel like I can't even move my hips. Like my hips feel locked and like so sore and just so uncomfortable, like I could barely breathe. So I like sprawled out on the bed and I texted Martin and I was like, I'm in pain. And I was like, please give me a massage when you come home. So he comes home like later in the day from skating and he gives me a massage. Right after the massage, I go to take some ibuprofen. And this is the first time I've taken ibuprofen since having this pain. And so after about like 20-30 minutes, like my pain kind of subsided. Like I could just like function normally without being like, oh, I'm in pain. So I didn't really think about it. And then I got a little high and I just didn't even think about it anymore until one of Martin's friends was visiting, and I'm like so embarrassed that this happened to me while he was here. I was laying in bed while they were all just like hanging out, and then they said that they were gonna go get Chick-fil-A and I was gonna go with them, but then I was like, I just like all those 3 days I was being so lazy and just laying in bed because I was in so much pain and I had no energy. So I was in bed and I was gonna go to Chick-fil-A because I wanted to get out of the house, but I didn't go because I was in so much pain. And so I just stayed there, and the entire time that they were gone I was okay, but like as soon as they got back, I started getting the shakes. Like, you know when you get a fever and you just get so cold and you start like shivering? That's how it started. So I took my comforter and I went out into the living room and sat on the recliner because they got me Chick-fil-A and I was gonna eat. And all of a sudden, like, my shivering turned into, like, shaking. Like, I couldn't, like, stop my body. I was just, like, sitting there like this, and I think the whole day and the whole time that I say I'm in pain, I play it off really well, like I'm not in pain, because I'm trying to, like, downplay what's happening to me. So most of the time, people really don't take me seriously when I say I'm in pain, because I'll be like, oh, I'm in pain, but I'll be, like, laughing and, like, going on about my day, so people don't really think that I'm actually in pain. Because, like, I have shit to do. You know what I mean? So, like, I don't think Martin was taking me seriously because I was looking at him and I literally was saying, like, I feel like I'm dying. Like, I feel like I'm dying.
Just here to say, Kaelyn, you were right. You're basically dying. Your body was going into shock, so...
Like, I feel like shit. Something's wrong with me. I'm shaking to the point where it's, like, uncontrollable. And I was like, okay, I'm just gonna go lay down in bed. So I go and lay down in bed and I was like, hey, just check on me just to make sure I'm okay in a minute. And when I lay down in bed, it got so much worse. My whole body was like convulsively shaking. Is that a word? Convulsing? I don't know. But my whole body was like locking up and shaking. And so I called Martin in there. And when Martin came in there, he like sat next to me and was holding my head up and was like doing this to my hair and was like, just calm down. It's okay. Like, you're doing this to yourself, you're making yourself shake, and I'm sitting there like, I'm not making myself shake. At this point, my jaw was clenched so tight, like this, that I couldn't open it, and I was having such a hard time breathing. My chest felt so tight, and my body would scrunch up like this, and just like shake. I thought I was having a seizure, or I thought I was about to have a seizure, because I was not able to, I was conscious, but I was not able to control my body, and my body was spazzing out. And so I was laying there and I started praying and I was like, dear God, please, like, send healing vibes my way. I really don't feel good. Just please watch over me. And like right after that, Martin goes, are you sure I shouldn't take you to the hospital? And I kind of took that as like, I need to go to the hospital if I want to feel better. So finally, first of all, I was like, well, I don't have any money. And he was like, don't even worry about that. Like, if you need to go to the hospital, go to the hospital. You can figure that out later. So I was like, okay. And I was so cold. He had to help me put on pants and a shirt because I was shaking so bad I couldn't do it myself. So very luckily we have a hospital like right at the end of our street, so he just took me straight there to the emergency room. And first of all, we get there and we walk to the wrong entrance, and we have to walk all the way around to like the emergency room entrance. And I'm at the point where, I don't know if you guys have ever blacked out, but when you're blacking out, you know when you stand up too fast and everything gets black, but it starts like out here and it gets like the blackness starts here and comes in? That's what I was feeling the whole time. Like I was on the verge of blacking out, but I was still conscious, like trying to make it to the emergency room, but it literally felt like my body was shutting down. Like I don't think people take me, okay, so that's just what I was experiencing, was the feeling of about to black out, but trying to like make it to where I need to be. So we get into the emergency room and we start checking in. Martin has to check in for me because I can't even stand at this point. He sits me down and he's going over there and he's filling out the stuff, and the nurses are just like, whatever, it's going to be, it's going to be a wait. There's so many people in the emergency room, but I was like, literally, something really bad is wrong with me. Please ask them just to even take my temperature, because I knew I needed attention like right that minute. Like that's how bad I felt. And so Martin goes over and is like, can you guys take her temperature? And they're like, yeah. And so I go over. At this point I have my white like tracksuit thing that I have, and then I had an orange hoodie and some like joggers over it because when I left the house I was freezing. She takes my temperature and I'm 104.3 or something, almost 105 like is my temperature. And she's like, okay. So like when they see that, they started taking me a little more seriously, and then I told them like some things that I was feeling, and they sent me back. Like I didn't have to wait. They sent me back to like the doctor emergency room area, like past the waiting room. So I'm waiting there, and I overheard, I don't know if it was about me or someone else, but I was like the next person that was discharged in or brought in or whatever. And I heard them over talking like, I don't have an extra room. There's no extra rooms. Like we gotta discharge her. It has to be an accidental accidental send back. Like they're talking about discharging me because they didn't have any room. And I was just like, oh my god, they're gonna discharge me and I'm gonna go home and I'm gonna just have anxiety that something's wrong with me. But luckily they decided to take my blood. Thank God. Because once they did that, they fucking took me so seriously, because I might get some of the words wrong, the lingo, because I was in at this point, I'm straight panic attack, because I feel like something absolutely is wrong with me by how my body is like feeling. Like I knew something was wrong. So they take my blood, and like 5 minutes later a guy comes back and was like, all right, bad news. And I was like, oh my god, what? And he said that my tests came back positive, and my the amino acids in my blood or whatever, was positive 2.3. And I was like, what the fuck does that mean? And he was like, basically you have an infection and it's made its way into your blood, so we're gonna have to keep you overnight and like flush you. And I was like, Martin, text my mom because she was coming the next day. Oh my god. Okay, so my mom was coming the next day, and I was like really stressed out because I didn't want to be like sick while she's, you know what I mean? Like she's coming for the first time. I haven't seen her in a year. Like so anyways, I had to go get an x-ray. So from the blood and figuring that out, they set me up on an IV of fluids. And then from that, I had to go take an x-ray of like my back and my chest so that they could look at my kidneys and stuff. So I come back from that, and they have a room downstairs ready for me. So I'm in this room, and at this point I get my catheters and my blood taken, and I'm set up on all the machines. I'm on an EKG thing because my temperature is almost 105 and my heart rate is 127 to 130. Just like staying right there. And so Martin's with me, I'm laying in the bed, and everything's getting set up, everything's happening. They're trying to like get me all together, and they start giving me antibiotics and like in a bag, and then sodium chloride in like this huge bag. And basically right now they're trying to get my heart rate and my temperature down. So I ended up sending Martin home because I started feeling really stressed out because he looked really uncomfortable and he was really tired, and I know he wanted to stay to support me, but like he was stressing me out by like being across the room trying to go to sleep, and I just like I couldn't. I was like, please go home, go get some sleep. I'll call you whenever I move up to another room. So basically throughout that night, they got my temperature down, and when I got to 100.3 and my heart rate back down, I think it was at 107 when they finally moved me, I got the news that I was going to go upstairs to like a normal hospital room. So I texted Martin to come back, and at this point I started getting really sick and vomiting, like really hard vomiting. From this point on, this is when I started kind of filming myself because I started going through so much. One, I was scared and I felt really alone, even though I sent Martin home, and I was really overwhelmed, and then I felt really guilty because my mom was coming and I was in the hospital. I go to my hospital room. I am in there for a few days. They kept me that night, the next night, and then I was discharged like late afternoon the next day. So I was in there for like 2.5 days, or like 2 days basically. I was on a bunch of antibiotics, only one. The way they had it dripping, it ended up, I got red man syndrome from it, which is a big rash on your face and your chest that's like burns and itches really bad, and then my eye swelled up, which I have pictures of. But basically my mom came and she stayed with me like throughout the night. Like she didn't want to leave because I told her to leave too, but she didn't want to leave, so she stayed with me in the hospital room, and I was hooked up and got everything to where I could be stable. Because when I got into the emergency room, it turns out my body was septic at that point. I had a UTI that went into a bladder infection, that went into a kidney infection, that infected my blood, and it ended up infecting my blood, like my whole body. And I was septic by the time I got into the emergency room. That's why I was like going into shock. That's why I was shaking and my body was like giving out. So I had sepsis, and they got me to the point where I was stable and like everything was like stabilized or whatever, and I was able to be discharged, and I got discharged with antibiotics that I have to take for 5 days. But I think I'm doing okay. It's definitely a wake-up call to trust my body and know when something's wrong. So I'm going to try to go to doctors a lot more. I am going to say that I may need some help. There may be a GoFundMe whenever I get my bill, because I have no idea how much it's going to be. At some point this year, I guess I applied for Medicare and I didn't finish the application, but I don't ever remember applying for it, so I don't know how this happened, because the hospital automatically applied for me and I got denied because it said I'd already tried to apply, and when you do that, you can't do it for another year. So I got denied insurance. So I may need some help because I'm sorry. It makes me feel so shitty. I don't know how much it's going to be yet. Maybe I won't even need help. It depends on what they surprise me with. But I just wanted to get on and let you guys know what's been happening with me, what happened basically, and that I'm feeling a little better. I still have a long way to go because I still feel like shit. But I'm working on it. I love you guys, and please go to the doctor whenever you feel like shit and listen to your body and don't be like me, because everything's always going to cost money, but you can figure it out afterwards. Go get yourself taken care of, because I could have died. You could have died. You know what I mean? So just pay attention to your body. I will see you guys in my next video.